clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, here we go. Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to SST on Apple Podcasts app, Spotify, YouTube. Doesn't matter where you listen. I appreciate you the same. So thank you for doing just that. Because if you're hearing me say these words, that means you're tapped in. You're listening to what we're about to say. And what we're about to say is we're going to make this case for the National League MVP. Because right now here in New York, we got the Mets streaking, still not in the playoff spot. But boy, is their leader, tried and true, making a push for this National League MVP. And it's real. This case for the National League MVP is real. Now, real quick before we get into it, some programming notes. We will have some football stuff coming up very soon. And by very soon, I mean tomorrow. We got Giants and Jets preview. We got picks coming up this week as well for week 1. We got all sorts of NFL stuff to cook with. But I have to talk about this because it's becoming a point of contention. It's becoming an argument that is dumb. It's becoming a situation where people are clearly just constantly showing their biases, not understanding what this award is about. Now, you may be thinking, Pete, you are a Mets fan. You have been a Lindor stan since joining the New York Mets. Those two things are true. But if you listen to this show, I hope you understand that's not what I do. I've protected Francisco Lindor. I've backed Francisco Lindor because I have believed he's still been a top-tier shortstop since joining the Mets. I think a lot of people misunderstand what it means to be a shortstop in the MLB and how many of them are not effective hitters. So when you get a hitter who's relatively average, above average, or, good, who's a great shortstop, you are in great regards in your position. You should be regarded as a top-tier guy. And in my humble opinion, since Francisco Lindor has been a New York Met, he has been a top-tier shortstop. Defensively, it's obvious. Health-wise, it's obvious. He plays 160 games like it's his job, which it is. Most people don't act like it is, but it is for him, and he acts like it is. And offensively, he's had some ups, he's had some downs, he's had some great times, he's had some low times. Well, this year, it's undeniable. There's no more arguing anymore about who the face of the Mets is, about who the best shortstop is in this league. Well, let me rephrase that. Who has implanted himself in the conversation for the best shortstop in the league? Because we do have a guy by Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson, amongst others, who are fantastic shortstops. So I'm not saying he's number one, but I'm saying those guys happen to play in the American League. And I am saying that Francisco Lindor is in that damn conversation. Because when you start to think about this award and you start to think about Shohei Ohtani, a lot of factors come into place. And to me, the biggest misstep of all time is anyone who out there says, Shohei's a DH, he can't win it. Dumb. Francisco Lindor doesn't touch Shohei's offensive stats, he can't win it. Dumb. Both arguments, dumb. Holding up 2 L's on the screen if you're watching on YouTube right now. Not accurate depiction of this award. All right, so here's the truth and the facts of this situation. Let me start off with Shohei Ohtani and the DHs because we have to be real here. Shohei Ohtani has been a monster. Shohei Ohtani has done everything. Right now, this dude is batting .292, .377, .616 slugging percentage, .993 OPS, the highest in the National League. He's got 44 home runs, 46 stolen bases. He leads the National League in runs. Offensively, juggernaut. Offense is incredible for Shohei Ohtani. That's fact. But with that position, the designated hitter, we know you're playing one side of the field. Has a DH ever won this award in its history? Has not. I did some quick research. I think I found all of the instances dating back to the early 90s here where a DH has come very, very close. Paul Molitor, 1993, came second in DH behind Frank Thomas, and Frank Thomas should have won. Good call. Edgar Martinez in 1995 came in third. He had an amazing year. Wasn't close in the voting. Frank Thomas, when he became more of a full-time DH, He still played some first base that year. In 2000, he came second in MVP. In 2005, David Ortiz became second or got second in MVP voting as a DH behind A-Rod. Now, here's the difference. Because another bad argument is if you just cite WAR. I love WAR. I look at it all the time, especially once you hit that 90 game marker, 80 to 100 game marker on the season. You start looking at WAR and you start learning some things. You start realizing some guys are doing more than meets the eye. You start realizing that these stats are adding up in a positive manner. I like WAR. Well, Alex Rodriguez in 2005 had a 9.4 WAR, and David Ortiz had a 5.2. Alex Rodriguez was a monster. It was an incredible season. 9.4 versus 5.2. That's massive. That's not even close. So that's baseball reference WAR. And here's another thing that comes into play here when you're making this argument. You have baseball reference WAR, you have Fangraphs WAR, you have baseball prospectus WAR, and you got all this crap that means a lot to some and a little to a lot, right? It means a lot to a few people, and it means basically nothing to more people. So if you use WAR as your main argument, I don't get it, right? But at least if you see 9.4 versus 5.2, you're like, wow, that's not even close, okay? So Shohei Ohtani, as his primary position is DH, he ranks great in WAR. Guess what? If you look at Baseball Reference, he's number 1 in the National League in WAR. Number 2 is Francisco Lindor. If you look at Fangraphs and you look at the other one, Francisco Lindor is number 1 and Shohei Ohtani is number 2. So that right there should take the WAR thing out of consideration. In my opinion, you take the WAR and you throw it out the window. This comes down to a few things to me. This comes down to the good arguments, which are Shohei Ohtani's offensive numbers are better than Francisco Lindor's offensive numbers by far. Basically every category, you can't make an offensive argument for Francisco Lindor to win this award over Shohei Ohtani. What you can do is make up the weight in defense, that how important it is to play shortstop for the New York Mets or for any team for that matter, for every single game this season. How much value does that add? So if you want to use WAR as your little testament there, you can make the argument that the defensive capabilities of this shortstop, who's clearly top tier in that category, puts him in the conversation. So to everyone out there who believes this is a runaway, Shohei Ohtani won the damn thing already. What are we talking about? Francisco Lindor only gets brought up because he plays for the New York Mets. That's garbage too. Bad argument. Bad argument. I just said to you, Shohei Ohtani outweighs every offensive category. He wins. He wins everyone. He wins them all. Better on base, better average, better slugging, better OPS. We know it. More home runs, more runs, the whole nine. More RBIs. They bat in different spots in the order. So I get it. Shohei's offense is better than Francisco Lindor's. But if you want to sit here and act like that gap doesn't get closed because of what Lindor does at shortstop every single day, I don't know what you care about. I don't know if you think baseball matters. I don't know if you think it only is okay to hit bombs and jog around the bases. Because frankly, I don't think Shohei Ohtani would believe that. In fact, there was a year where Shohei Ohtani was about top 5, top 6 in all the offensive categories and was a top 20 pitcher in the MLB, and he didn't win the MVP. Granted, it was because Aaron Judge hit 62 home runs, but you could have made the argument that that pitching, along with his hitting, closed that gap. And there was an argument. Aaron Judge was not unanimous that year. Say what you want about it. He should have won. He won. But when you go back to the good argument versus bad argument, I think it's a good argument when you start off and say, Shohei Ohtani is clearly better as an offensive player. Cool. Good argument. A value is, or most valuable player means what that person means to a team and what that team may be like without him. So this good argument moves into a bad argument. Because the opposite side of that is, oh, the Los Angeles Dodgers have been hurt. The Los Angeles Dodgers aren't at full strength. Well, I'm sorry. Call me crazy. But I'd much rather take 126 games of Freddie Freeman, who is still top tier as a hitter in this league, with an 880 OPS, 150 OPS plus. If you don't know a good OPS, it's great. 21 home runs, batting 290, 385 on base percentage, has only played 9 less games than Shohei Ohtani. Teoscar Hernandez has played the same amount of games as Shohei Ohtani, with a 270 average, 28 home runs, 90 RBIs, 830 OPS, and yes, a 132 OPS plus, if that's easier for you to calculate. Oh, and I'm sorry, Mookie Betts, he's been hurt. He's missed time. He has a good chunk, but he's played over 90 games, well over half of this season. So if your argument is, well, the Dodgers have been hurt, of course Shohei has carried this team and should win the MVP because of it, I don't want to hear it. The Dodgers have been winning this division with their eyes closed, with an influx of talent year after year after year, let alone the pitching staff, where they have the high-end starters. The bullpen outweighs the Mets bullpen by a long shot. A long shot. Okay, so that argument, what would this team be without Shohei Ohtani? They'd still be good. They'd still be in the race. Will they be winning this division? Possibly not. The NL West is really freaking good, as we know. The Mets are chasing the Diamondbacks and Padres with all their might, and they haven't caught them yet. But to act like the Dodgers would be horrendous without Shohei Ohtani, the Dodgers have been amazing without Shohei Ohtani every year before this one. And yeah, I know Mookie Betts has only played 92 games. I'd take 126 from Freeman, 135 from Teoscar Hernandez, and 92 from Mookie Betts over the 138 from Pete Alonso and the 126 from Jeff McNeil and the 88 from Mark Vientos and the 77 from Starling Marte and the 128 from Brandon Nimmo. If you want to talk about injuries, yeah, guess what? The Mets got him too. Alvarez, starting catcher, hurt. Will Smith's been way better than him this year. Starling Marte, hurt, missed more games than Mookie Betts. Mark Vientos started the year in the minors. He's played as many less games than Mookie Betts. Nimmo, who's been bad this year, batting 231. He's played 128. Alonso, a down year for him. Yeah, he's hit 31 home runs. Guess what? He hasn't touched the productivity of Freddie Freeman still, even with playing 12 more games. So that argument doesn't make sense to me. But what would the Mets be without Francisco Lindor? I think this team would be nothing without Francisco Lindor. I think they wouldn't be sniffing a playoff race. They wouldn't be even close. So if you want to make the argument, oh, well, the Dodgers have been hurt and Shohei's carried that offense and this and that, I don't think that's an MVP case. I laid out the case for Shohei. His offense has been incredible. He outweighs Lindor in every offensive category. That case is fine by itself. You don't need to drag in all this other stuff, because if you do so, I think you're hurting the Shohei Ohtani argument. Because without Shohei, the Dodgers are probably still competing for a playoff spot. Without Francisco Lindor, the Mets might not be 500. And narrative matters. Narrative absolutely matters in this award. I know that over the years, as sabermetrics and advanced stats have become more and more popularized, we've often just looked at WAR, we've looked at WRC plus, we've looked at OPS plus, and said, who's number one on this category? They should win MVP. And to that, use it as a guide all day, every day. Use it as a guide. But at some point, are you going to be willing to take the man from a team who's not even sniffing playoffs and make them an MVP? I mean, how pissed are people about Mike Trout's MVPs? Some people hate that. Some people despise that. Thankfully, because of the Mets streaking in the second half of the year, or even the latter parts of the first half of the year, they're in the conversation. They are well above 500 right now. They do seem to be finishing in that manner. So thankfully, we don't have to have one of those ridiculous places where we're talking about the Mets in fourth place in their division, 10 games under, but Lindor's WAR is higher than Shohei Ohtani's on Fangraphs, so he should win. No. These things all matter. They all come into effect. And to use an example, in 2002, right, Miguel Tejada wins the AL MVP over Alex Rodriguez. 2002. It was a rough one. If you look at the stats and you just look at what transpired in that season, Alex Rodriguez's numbers were running laps around what Miguel Tejada did. I'm going to run through it right now. They both played 162. Miguel Tejada had 204 hits, 34 home runs, 131 RBIs. Batted 308, 350 on base, 500 slugging, 861 OPS. Alex Rodriguez played 162, 57 home runs with 187 hits, 142 RBIs, batted 300, 390 on base, 623 slugging, 1,015 OPS. But guess what? The Rangers came in last in their division, and the A's came in first with 103 wins. That's not what we're talking about here. That is not the argument for this one. The Dodgers are in first place in a very good division. The Mets are in third in a very good division. The Mets are not even close to being out of the conversation to where Lindor's argument gets thrown out the window. Another part of this is your status in the league. And people may not want to admit this, but Francisco Lindor has been on the MVP ballot 2 of the last 3 years. Francisco Lindor has not gotten first place votes, but Francisco Lindor has been in the ballot. He's been in the conversation. He's been talked about as an MVP multiple times in his career, back in Cleveland, even here in New York, even if it doesn't make sense. That status matters. And now the status of Francisco Lindor, backed up by his best stretch of offense in his career, absolutely puts him in this conversation. It puts him in the category of the best player in the National League. And it comes down to what you think matters. Offense obviously matters. Defense obviously matters. One guy doesn't play any of it, right? So is Shohei Ohtani's numbers on offense, which are clearly better than Francisco Lindor's, enough to weigh out the defense and the every single day playing shortstop, which is the toughest defensive position in baseball? Does it completely outweigh it? I look back to the Jokic-Embiid debate. The one year where Jokic won the MVP that was the most contentious, I think it was the first one he won. And Embiid fans were going nuts. How, well, he averages more points, he averages more rebounds, he doesn't average more assists, but he's more efficient. His this is higher, his that is higher. You're only going to give Jokic the thing because of VORP and win shares and this and that. Well, in that specific instance, Nikola Jokic played almost 20 games more than Joel Embiid. Almost 20 games more. To me, that's similar to Francisco Lindor playing basically 9 full innings every game when Shohei Ohtani is playing 9 half innings every game. So yes, Shohei has added more offensive value to his team every single game. However, total value from Francisco Lindor is absolutely neck and neck with what Shohei Ohtani has added to his team this year. If you don't see that, if you don't understand that, then every single year you should just log on to Baseball Reference and click OPS plus and sort it from top to bottom and just pick the guy with the highest number. Close your eyes and pick him. Well, you can't close your eyes. You got to find him. Sort it and click him. You got it. You got your MVP. Is that your whole story? Is that the whole season in a nutshell? Is that what you believe this MVP should be? To me, that's ridiculous. To me, that's a complete oversight of what should be part of this conversation. Lindor's defense actually makes this close. And if you take value as what you add to your team and what your team would be without you, yeah, the Dodgers would be worse without Shohei Ohtani. The Mets would be way worse without Francisco Lindor. But what it comes down to for me, when you're talking about Francisco Lindor and his case right here, right now for MVP, they say you can't win the World Series in March and April, but you can lose it. Well, guess what? Francisco Lindor, he couldn't have won the MVP in March and April, but I think he lost it. I believe Shohei Ohtani, as we sit here today on September 4th, sorry. I believe Shohei Ohtani is the MVP. But this season's not over. This season has a whole month left of baseball. And right now, Francisco Lindor is on a 30-plus game on base streak with a 14-game hit streak, playing the best baseball of his career. But Francisco Lindor set himself back. In 29 games in March and April, Lindor batted 197, 280 on base, 359 slugging with a 640 OPS. In May, he was fine with a 760 OPS, and then he absolutely took off. June, 870, July, 940, August, 940, and in 2 games throughout September so far, he's on a tear again. He's killing it. So if you ask me who's my MVP, if the season ended today, I'm saying Shohei Ohtani. His offense did outweigh the output of offense and defense from Francisco Lindor. I don't care that Fangraphs War has Lindor up by a cunt. Excuse me. I don't know where that came from. It's late. I don't care that they're neck and neck on Baseball Reference. I believe Shohei's offense outweighs the totality of the offense and defense of Francisco Lindor. But the season's not over yet, guys. And you're telling me if Francisco Lindor maintains what he's doing right now, if he continues to be the best player on a team making a playoff push, where this now 270 average from Francisco Lindor stays at 270 or gets up to 280, and that OPS that's at 840 gets up to 875, 890, and Shohei Ohtani stays about even, which is incredible, obviously, offensively, that gap closes even more. So September 4th, here we are. Shohei Ohtani is my National League MVP. But if you don't think it's close, you are selling this game of baseball short. You are selling shortstops short. If you don't understand the value of playing every single game at the hardest position in baseball and hitting the way he has for every month but one this season, you don't understand what this game's about. This is a close race, people. It's not because Francisco Lindor plays in New York. It's not because Shohei Ohtani plays in LA. Right now, it's because Ohtani's numbers are so good that despite the great defense from Lindor, he hasn't surpassed him clearly enough yet. The tie goes to the incumbent, and the incumbent is Shohei's been the best hitter in the National League this entire freaking season. It hasn't been close. I mean, he's 50 points above in OPS from anyone in the National League. 50 points. He's 140 points above Francisco Lindor. Now, Francisco Lindor is also whatever amount of points you want to say above Ohtani on defense, and how you want to weight that, go ahead, knock yourself out. Go look at the defensive run saved. Go look at the ultimate zone rating or whatever the hell it's called on Fangraphs. I don't care about those specific numbers. Those numbers don't mean much to me. I know what I watch when I watch Lindor. I know what I see when I get Yahoo notifications of Shohei Ohtani on my fantasy team carrying my team. But this ain't fantasy baseball, people. It doesn't only matter for the categories I need in fantasy to win. The value, the most valuable player, absolutely you need to take in the full story. The full story is Ohtani's been the best so far. And if Lindor was even average in March and April, I think the tie would go to Lindor right now. If Lindor continues this path that he's on for the rest of September, and the Mets narrative continues to go forward where they make a playoff spot, Lindor will be your MVP. Is that a cop-out? I don't think so. It's real. That's what I believe. Because So often in this world of podcasting and radio and social media, you have to say, this is the answer and everything else is wrong and stupid. That's not what I do. You know, it's just not what I do. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do the BS to get you intrigued just a little bit more. I want to tell you the reality of what we're looking at. And the reality of what we're looking at is if you only cared about offense and it was the only part of the game, Ohtani's the MVP by a long shot, but it's not the case. The defense matters. Showing up every game on both sides of the ball matters. And Lindor has done that times 100, except for March and April. So, Lindor, you can't win it in March and April. Can't win that MVP in 1 month, but you can lose it. And right now, Ohtani has you beat because he's been the best hitter in the NL all season long. And Lindor was bad to start this season. If he was average in April, this is a completely different conversation. But that's why this door is absolutely open for Francisco Lindor to win the NL MVP. That's it, man. I'm going to keep it real always with you guys. That's it. I'm not going to come out here and say, it's definitely this, it's definitely that. If you think that, you're wrong. I made my case. I gave you the good arguments. I gave you the bad arguments. I'll let you guys know the ones I think make sense and prove your point, and the ones that don't work. If you say, oh, well, on Baseball Reference, he's got a 7.1 and he's got a 6.2. Don't care. Oh, well, Lindor actually leads in Fangraphs. No, I don't care about that either. I'm not biased. I'm not saying Lindor should be it because I'm a Mets fan. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be it because I'm a Mets fan, right? I'm telling you, September 4th, I'm giving it to Ohtani. September 31st might be a different story because the way Francisco Lindor is playing, the value he's added to this team is ridiculous. And however you want to quantify that, all the different things you want to pull in, knock yourself out. I just did my best job. And my best job says Ohtani for now, but the season ain't over yet. Speaking of the season ain't over yet, before we go. New York Yankees. Jesus. Come on. Clay Holmes, come on. I mean, the Yankees have been handed an opportunity to take the AL East. To take it. I mean, the Orioles have finally won a couple games in a row now. They have been struggling. The Yankees are still going to be a playoff team, but this division is ripe for the taking, and the New York Yankees cannot get out of their own way. It is one of the most perplexing Yankee seasons I can remember, and there's been a bunch of them. There's been so many years where you say, the Yankees are right here, but do they have enough? Is it going to work in the playoffs? We've had these same conversations before, but this one hurts even more. Because if I look back even on just the titles of all of the Subway Sports Talk podcast names, there's a week or there's a 3-week stretch where it's the Yankees are doomed, this offense sucks. And then it's the Yankees are back, they figured it out, and they're healthier now. And then you move forward 2 more weeks, and you're just confused again. Can this team be consistent? I mean, they lead the league in run differential. They still net out as one of the best offenses in baseball. And yet, they never feel like they're doing enough. And Clay Holmes, man, do we need to get him out of the closer spot. Who's the answer? I don't know. We've talked about moving Luis Gil into that spot. That's clearly not happening right now. Luke Weaver's been one of the more reliable bullpen arms for the Yankees. He's not going in that spot. The Yankees need a strikeout guy in that spot, and they don't have it. The defense for the Yankees just isn't good enough, isn't consistent enough to make up for Clay Holmes' contact type pitching strategy. It's perplexing, man. How is it so frequent? The vibe just completely flips on the New York Yankees. I don't get it. 1 week, they're back. The next week, they stink. And they don't stink, clearly. They're 21 games over 500. They're a half game out of the AL East. They play to their competition. They're playing in Texas right now, and they give up a freaking monster grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. You just don't even know what to say about this team. it makes it almost uninteresting to talk about. There's so much BS with this team night in, night out. There's such a lack of inspiration from their manager in Aaron Boone. There's such a lack of inspiration from the totality of the offense. You're looking at a team with the two best hitters in baseball on it, and we sit here 3 times a week, 4 times a week saying, what's wrong with this team? It sucks. And that's why it's so exciting to have football back, because God damn it, I can't take this Yankees team anymore. I mean, at least with the Mets, you have exciting wins, exciting losses, and you understand who they are, and you know that, yeah, of course, there's going to be things you could nitpick and things you'll be upset about, and you'll say, why the hell did that happen? How did they blow that game? They have as many comeback wins as they have blown losses. They're doing it all. The Yankees, however, it's just like they hit a couple home runs and Aaron Judge and Soto do their thing and they win, or they're scrapping and clawing and blowing leads late because Clay Holmes has 12 of them already this year. I mean, God damn it. I'm sick of this Yankee team, dude. You can't get a read on them. You don't know how to feel. You don't know to be excited. I don't even know what to say about the damn Yankees right now. That's it. Subway Sports Talk. P. Kennedy. Shohei's my MVP right now. Lindor has a chance to still win this damn thing. And that's the honest, actual truth of this situation. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Actually, like tomorrow. Jets and Giants preview. NFL picks coming up later in the week as well. We're so back. NFL's back. Chiefs, Ravens on Thursday night. Give it all to me right now, people. Right now. Can't wait. All right. Subway Sports Talk. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review on your podcast app. Drop a notification or comment on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. Subscribe. The whole thing. You know what to do. Social media at Subway Sports Talk. That's it. Pete Kennedy. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.